What's up? We're live.
What's going on, guys? Now you look good,
Hello.
Scott. Lighting looks good.
Yeah,
Good.
it's good.
Want to welcome Scott Waters to the show. First time on here with us.
The
What's up,
legend.
everybody?
Thanks for coming on, brother. Man, it's been a while. Other than
very long
occasional,
time,
occasional text here and there. That's about it, I guess. But
Yeah, I miss seeing you guys.
yeah, just trying something different here, though. Seems we're having fun, dude. I mean, hopefully you've seen a couple of the shows. We've been having
I have.
all kind of people on, and old guys. It's been great.
Yeah, it's fun.
So George and I have been talking about doing this forever, and finally got it off the ground, man.
Right on. When are you going to get LJ on?
Dude. He was like one of the first guys when George and I were talking about it. It's like, dude, come on, join us for the first show. He's like, maybe later.
Man, I wanted to bring him out of retirement
Yeah.
on YouTube on the first one, but
And like 2 shows ago, I'm like, all right, man, we're like 7 or 8 shows in. Come on, join us. He's like, I'll let you know when I'm ready. So he's not ready yet.
He's
So
kicking back. Cool. I spoke to him just online a few weeks ago. Just asked him how he was doing, just because I haven't seen him in such a long time.
yeah, he's doing good. I mean, him and I usually talk a couple times a week, actually, to be honest, texting or emailing goofy shit back and forth. But he's doing all right.
Good.
So,
Yeah, I know he moved. That's the last thing I heard was that he moved.
yeah, he's out in the middle of the boonies in Maine now. So, and he's loving
nice.
it. Yeah, he's in a perfect spot right now with all this craziness going on.
I wonder if he loves it in the wintertime when he's got snow up to his butthole.
Oh, he's always sending me, because I love snow. He's
Yeah.
always sending me pictures. Hey, I got 2 feet. We got 4 more coming tomorrow. It's like,
Oh,
dude.
he can have that.
That's why I moved to the desert, to get away from that, man.
Yeah, he could stay there.
He's loving it.
Nope.
Yeah, I lived in upstate New York for a few years, and it was always buried in snow. Couldn't stand it.
Oh, I can
Yeah.
imagine, man. But Buffalo up around in there is just nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, it was in Rochester I lived in.
Well, you're originally from my area, right? You're
Yeah, I
originally
lived in
from
Trenton
Philly.
most of my life. Yeah, I hung out in the Philadelphia area as a teenager.
Right
Most
on.
of my
That's all.
classes were, Philadelphia.
Yep.
Cool.
Still a Flyers fan to this day.
Yeah, I know. That's why I knew, because I always saw you in Flyers gear. But then we had talked before, and you had said you were from Trenton, right?
Yep, Trenton.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right
Still
on.
have family there. Still have family in Philadelphia. A lot of family lives in Philadelphia. So
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, let's kind of jump in. Usually we start out showing a couple records, then we'll jump in with Scott and dive into his past. But we start out usually with a record that each of us think everyone should have in their collection, or at least have heard. Give it a shot. So we'll go ahead and start with Scott. Go for it, brother.
man, this is a tough one because it was like one record. I can't think about 50 records that you need in your collection, but
Right.
I actually thought I was going to go with Rainbow Rising, and I ended up going with. See if I can get in there.
Right on.
Live and Dangerous.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just because it's one of my all-time favorite live albums, and even this I struggle with. All right, it's like maybe I should do UFO Strangers at Night, or just so many great live albums as well. But there's just something about this album. That was just when I was a kid, and I discovered this album. And I remember looking at a picture of Scott Gorham live on the inside with his long hair, and I'm like, when I grow up, I want to have hair just like that.
He had a look, man. He was a rock and roller, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I showed a picture of my mom. I said, "Hey, Mom, when I grow older, I want to have hair just like this guy." And my mom's like, "Yeah, well, when you grow up and you're out of my house, you can." So, of course, when I grew up and moved out of her house, I did. I had hair just like this. Long, straight hair. But, hey, it's just a great album. I mean, it took those great songs that Thin Lizzy already were, those classic songs, that the dual guitars, the kind of romanticized lyrics, and it just supercharged them with the energy from a live crowd.
Yeah, it's a killer record.
Yep.
And we've actually talked about, we want to try and eventually do a show on just live albums. There's so many awesome, like you said, so many awesome live albums just to pick from, especially back in the day. It was like a live album was special back in the day. Now it's just kind of expected.
Yeah, now it's just kind of a dime a dozen. But back in the late 70s and the early 80s, it was when the recording studios couldn't capture that same energy. It added something special to it that you couldn't get in a studio.
Yeah.
Kiss Alive, Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East, all those kind of albums like that have that kind of something special about them.
Right. What you got, George?
I got the It's from 74. Left End. Let me
Dude, I've never heard of that.
yeah, they're like junk house glam.
Really?
But this is one of the better, I think, junk house glam bands from the early 70s.
Now, is that a reissue or is that an OG?
No, it's the real one.
Wow. Has that ever been reissued? Or have you ever seen a
I
reissue?
don't know, man. It might have been on CD. I'm not sure if it's been reissued on vinyl though. I don't know. I have to look.
What's the name of the album?
Originally on 74. I mean, out in 74 on Polydor.
What's the name of it? Left End, Spoiled Rotten?
Yeah, Spoiled Rotten.
Just wrote it down myself.
Yeah, that's a new one on me, dude. I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty killer, man. I heard these guys on a one of those new junk house glam compilations from the UK.
Mhm.
It was like all the young. I thought I had the box set down here. It's like all the young dudes. It's like a 3-disc box set. Within the last year, it came out.
Okay.
And it's all like, I think it's all UK junk house glam bands. But like, so I heard that on. Well, I guess it's not UK. I think these guys are from the States, but I heard those guys on there and was like, oh shit.
Wow.
So I just searched it out and found that they only had, I think, one and done, that one record.
Isn't it crazy, man? I mean, all three of us are old as dirt, and we're still finding awesome shit like that. You know what I mean?
What was that? Like, I found that, and like last time I told you, Greeno, that band Juicy Lucy.
Yeah.
That's another band that, you know, I found within the last couple years that was like, how did I miss these dudes? I know they're more blues-based stuff, but but as far as like hard rock or glam rock like that, there's so many bands that only had just 7-inch singles too.
Right. And I love those box sets when they do that. Take like a genre and put it together.
Me
like,
too.
Kind of like a Nuggets kind of thing, but of a different genre. It's like so many new bands you haven't heard of.
Yeah, especially, you know, like I said, there's a ton of 70s bands on there that you're like, what the hell?
Yep, exactly.
See, Mr. Bizarro, Aaron joined. What's going on? All right, I'll jump in. I picked one out. This is like a hard rock, heavy metal. This is probably a top 10 album for me, and both you guys know it. Cool.
Oh,
from the Wire.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that's such a great record.
This album
It's
just
great
blew me away. What was this, like 88 Atlantic?
Yep, exactly. Maybe 87, but yeah, Atlantic Records. That was their debut major label release.
Yep. Actually, I'd never heard of them until this album, and we went and saw, some friends and I went and saw LA Guns at a local fairgrounds, and they had Dirty Looks opening up, and yeah, we're just standing there. Dirty Looks come out, and it was like, holy crap, man! LA Guns better be freaking bringing it tonight, or they're not going to have a good night. LA Guns just were great, but Dirty Looks just wiped the stage with them. They were unbelievable. I went out the next day and bought this album. It was like, and I've been a huge fan ever since. Just love that band.
Yeah, I was in college when my roommate was from Pennsylvania as well, and he brought the In Your Face cassette.
Yeah,
and we listened to that thing over and over and over again. So, yeah, that's just a fantastic album.
Yeah, all their stuff. I mean, but the Cool from the Wire has just always been one. Probably because it's the first one I heard.
You bought you bought my original indie one from me.
Sure did.
Yeah,
sure did.
8 years ago now.
Like that. Yeah.
Which album is that? In Your Face or the first?
No, the original. Is it self-titled?
Yeah, one's just.
Is it a picture of the dog in the front cover?
No, isn't it the white cover with just the logo?
Black and white cover, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not a dog on the cover of it?
Wait, you know what? It is. It's a black and white one, and then when they put it out in France, it was a different like illustration of it, but in color.
Yeah, it came out on
exactly.
Act.
Yeah, it was on Act Killer in France.
Yep.
Yeah, I have that one. That's why I sold the indie one to Greeno, because I needed the money at the time, but I had the Axe Killer version too. So
I think it's called like Hold Tight, She's on Top or something like that.
That's their original EP. Yeah, that's their original EP. I think
So-
that's a 3 or 4 song EP that came out right before the self-titled one.
Damn. Sorry, I was looking. I just took a picture of all of them.
Mhm.
I was talking to some dude online about them, and I think I already deleted the picture. But yeah, the one came out on Axe Killer.
Yeah, I have that
Yeah,
one.
that was the first album. I have that one too.
There was one after that too that was like kind of a comp of all their stuff at that point, and it was another import one. It wasn't Rip It Out, because Rip It Out was a CD that they put out in
Yeah.
like 99, 2000.
Their early stuff before Cool from the Wire, their discography there is a little weird. I've never got my head all the way around at what is what. You know what I mean?
Or-
Like you had the American version, the Axe Killer, and some of them were a little bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like a couple different releases put together, and it was like, man,
Yeah,
Right, and then there was re-recorded songs. I mean, they
Yeah.
had several different versions of the same song. Yeah,
Well, Henrik had the from what I understand, I worked with him at Paris Records. We did the Gasoline record that came out, and the one right after that, and then they ended up going with somebody else. But we stayed in touch with him, me and Tom at Paris, and he I'm trying to think what the hell he would have, like just random guys play with him in the studio, or he would record everything himself.
yeah. On those last 2 or 3 albums, he recorded almost everything himself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Except
And
the drums. I don't think he played drums, but
no, he always got that Jack Pyers guy to play drums on the later shit, and I think Jack was like one of the original drummers.
exactly.
Looks, yeah. So we kept in touch, and it was weird. Like after we did the 2 records with Dirty Looks, and they both sold really well. He went a little goofy. Henrik did, and then we found out he was back like boozing again, because at that point he had all like I think was sober during that whole period of the comeback.
He was sober for a while.
Yeah, and then I guess he fell off the wagon again. And the next call we got, I want to say it was like 2 months after he had called us one day, or he had called Tom, and Tom called me like kind of like, dude, give Henrik a call. And I said, why? He's like, he's acting weird. And I said, all right. So I called him, and I didn't get an answer. So I never got in touch with him. But like I think it was like 2 weeks later or 2 months later, we get the call that he had passed away. So it was like, and I think we heard from his son that it was acute alcohol poisoning, but then I think when it came out, it was
Liver disease, wasn't it?
yeah, like cirrhosis or something.
Yeah. Actually, one of my prized possessions is I have a handwritten note he sent me like maybe a month or 2 before he passed away.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
He was just calling me on the phone randomly, and talking about. I mean, it was kind of odd because he was talking to me about, what do you think about heaven? What do you think about hell? What do you think?
Yep.
So he must have known he was going to pass away, and he was.
well, he was like that, man. He would call out of the blue and just start talking about any random topic.
Yeah.
You know, it was just a weird thing. He was a nice guy. I had seen him, a few times. I think the last time we saw him with my wife and I went when the band from Baltimore, that Child's Play, was actually backing him up. They were Dirty Looks that night. It was an odd thing. Like
Wow,
that's what he
that's
would
pretty
do
cool.
when he would play live. He would get like certain bands to learn their shit. And that year, I think it was the guys from Child's Play down in Baltimore. So that's the last time we saw him. That had to be like 92, 93 maybe.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Speaking of which, that was a killer band. One album,
Who's that?
Chrysalis, Child's Play.
Yeah, and then they did an independent second record.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I
that
didn't like
one's,
that. Yeah, it
yeah,
was
that
okay.
one is good. But that one's used to go for a lot of money on CD. It was hard to find for a long
Yeah.
time.
I think they, like everything gets reissued. That's why nowadays it's like if I miss something on vinyl, I'm like, it'll be out in a year.
Yeah. What's up, Aaron? Metal Theologian has joined in.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's up, Aaron?
We got the 2 Aarons tonight. All right, so we're going on to boot in the ass. Time for a bootleg.
Yeah.
So go for it, Scott. What you got?
I pulled out just one of my favorite all-time bootlegs. I mean, I listen to this thing literally more than almost any other live album I have, and it's, of course, they're my favorite band. But Look Homeward Angel by Aerosmith.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's probably one of the more widely known bootlegs. It's been distributed, under a million different titles, and just a great live recording from back before the band was really famous. I mean, this was right around the Toys in the Attic era, and Toys hadn't really broke yet, so they were still kind of young and hungry and raw, which is what I really liked about it. But just because I have so many of them, I pulled a couple extra ones. There's another copy of it that's with a different cover.
That's cool.
And then here's another one I had with another label.
Oh, wow.
No,
I'm just a huge Aerosmith fan, but this has been one of my favorite bootlegs since I was a kid, literally.
Those are old school boots too,
yeah.
right? They're not new.
Yeah, those are all from the 70s. Yeah,
right on.
Yeah, I have the black cover one. I don't know which pressing, but it's an old one. Yeah, I have that one.
Yeah, there's a couple different pressings. You can always tell by the center label.
What color's the original one? Do you know?
I think the original one. Hang on, this is the original one here, right? Hang on.
Yeah, Vance is in here.
Because one of them just has white labels, and the other one has. Yeah, this is the original one. So the original one was just white.
Okay, I have that one. Yep.
Yeah, and I think the Discos label or whatever label that was, I can't remember the name of it. Amazing Corny Phone label was one of them.
Man, those old boots, you had to be careful. You couldn't leave those damn things on the turntable, get too many records out at once, because you had those blank labels. It's like, shit, now I got to sit here and figure out what's what.
You're that they had like the wrong label on, like
yeah,
from what it was actually.
Right.
I always kind of thought that was fun.
Me too, when they have like the fake song titles and the fake band name on it.
Yeah, exactly.
What you got, George?
I got another new one. I don't think I showed this one last week. Tell me if I did. Because I think I just got this.
I didn't see that. I didn't see it in your broadcast last week.
I don't think.
And this is Back Home with Brian, Melbourne radio broadcast from 1981. So this is like the tail end of the Back in Black tour.
Right on.
And it's one of those. It's on that parachute out of the UK. They have like, I want to say like 7 or 8 different titles that are kind of uniform with this AC/DC logo and shit. But they're doing all the radio broadcasts. So if you're looking for a cheaper way to kind of go with all the AC/DC radio broadcast stuff, look at stuff on Parachute Records.
Yeah, a cool boot label.
Yeah, and they do like I said, it's just a radio. I think this one's white vinyl. Now I saw there's a colored version of this where the picture is obviously in color and the title's different, but the AC/DC logo is the same. I don't know what the story with that one is, but so that's that one. But this is a killer radio broadcast. It sounds, I think, pretty good.
I can't pick up an AC/DC bootleg without thinking of you.
Same here, dude.
Every time I
can't
pick it
see.
up, I think of you.
Yeah.
I can't see AC/DC without thinking of George. Anytime I see an album, anything.
It's a sickness, man.
I'm the same way with Aerosmith and Ted Nugent and a couple other Thin Lizzy. So,
well, I don't know if you saw this last one I got. Like I got that Melbourne one, and then the next day I got this. I think I showed Greeno this one, that Tokyo First Night, 1981.
oh, that's cool.
And that's another brand new, like remastered radio broadcast. But this show's been highly bootlegged, but this version of it is like, I don't know if they got a new master from somewhere, but it sounds so different. But yeah, it's still the same soundboard or radio broadcast. And there's only 100 copies of this.
Dude, I just ordered a couple records today.
I thought you were going to say I just ordered a couple records while I was talking to you.
I was I passed up a couple AC/DC. I was like, man, I really want to get these, but
Which one?
I can't even remember now. But I passed them up because they had a Dictators boot. Yeah, I was like, I can't. I've never seen another Dictators,
no.
So I grabbed that. I can't remember what the other one was now, but
I
Yeah,
just picked up a
Scorpions.
Scorpions 78 bootleg that's really good from
Really?
from Rocketdrome actually.
Oh,
It's,
really? Okay.
It's really good. I mean, I think it's as good as their as their live album. It doesn't have that corny rock and roll medley on it.
Oh.
Right on.
I love
Right on.
finding that old, the old shows, and
Yep.
it's crazy, man. There's so many out there. It's just my ultimate. See if you guys. I'll ask you the same question. The ultimate dream show that you could have a perfect like album quality soundboard live album of, you know what I mean, like a show you've been to. I know what mine is. Do you guys have any, like, off the top of your head?
Like a show that I've been to.
Yeah, like a show that you've been to that there might be a bootleg of, but your favorite show. How can I explain this? The best show you've ever seen, if you can get it on a soundboard, like album, like a normal released album, which show that you've seen in your past?
I can think of a few that wouldn't be bad. My very first show was seeing Aerosmith at the Spectrum with Pat Travers opening that. That would be a great bootleg to have.
Yeah.
I saw Dio at the Spectrum, and that's available on vinyl now.
Yep. Yep. See, like shit like that. Like I bought that right away because I was at that show too.
Yep. Did you get to see Dio and Twisted Sister at Tower Theater a couple years before that?
No. Nope.
I went to see that show, and that's another one
that probably that era was like when I first started. My aunt started taking me to shows like Kiss and AC/DC and obviously those guys, and trying to think who else we saw. Andy Gibb. And
you need that on boot.
Andy Gibb from Great Adventure over in Jersey.
Man, I don't even know what I would pick. I mean, I
already know. Mine is the Largo, Maryland, AC/DC, 1981.
At the Cap?
Yep.
Wow.
Dude, because if you remember, I think they pulled some clips. I mean, they pulled some live performances from that show to show his videos on MTV back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, For Those About to Rock, Let's Get It Up, and Put the Finger on You, I think were the three that they released as videos. They were all shot at that Capitol Theater.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and they all sound great. And a lot of the bootlegs, a lot of this 12 inches from that era were taken. I think 2 or 3 songs were taken from the Capitol Center, and the live Let There Be Rock, the 12-minute version of it was taken, may have been taken from there as well.
Man, I would probably go ahead.
They did Put the Finger on You, and they did, which they hardly ever played. And I think Let's Get It Up made it through that first leg of that tour, and then was replaced on the second leg by Not Shake a Leg, by Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution.
So they were mixing up the set as they went along.
Back then they would do like one song, that was it. They would take a new one out and put a new one in, like from that album. And then it got to the point where, like, when they came around, they would do that like maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 songs from the new record, and then all hits. But the last time they were in town, not the last, but for Black Ice, I think they played 6 songs from that record.
Really?
Yeah.
That's like Maiden. Every time they put a new one out, it's like they play new songs, man. They don't do shit.
Yeah. I mean,
either they're playing new stuff or they're doing a retro tour, you know what I mean? Playing all the old stuff.
I like it that way, because then the fan can pick, like, I want to go see him play the old shit, or I want to see him play this stuff, the new stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Man, I'd probably go with Metallica Master of Puppets tour when they were opening for Ozzy at the Cap. That was just something Ramones. I'd like to have that show. I saw them, but But just to have seen Cliff live is like pretty freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool to have. Now I have a question for you. Go a little bit further. Do you guys have any boots of shows you went and saw?
Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I
actually got a few, I think.
Now I have more like old style cassette trading boots of that kind of stuff than I do actual press stuff, from back in the day.
Yeah, I've got some of that kind of stuff too. Actually recorded a couple myself too when I was younger.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one I have, or like the best one, well, I have all the AC/DC shit from Philly, from every tour. And of course I was at every show. So, but other than that, like I think I have like a Black Crow show that I was at.
That's cool.
Typo Negative show I was at. Just stuff like that. Like Scott said, kind of stuff that was not out pressed, but like a cassette or a CDR or something like that.
The coolest one, I probably have like 10 or 12 that way, but the coolest one I ever had back in the 90s. Do you remember Goldmine magazine and all that stuff?
Yeah,
I had all the listing in the back for people that were trading video boots, VHS. So I started doing that. I did that for probably 8 or 9 years. And by the time I was done, I had like 900 VHS tapes, which all that shit is now on YouTube, which is great. But anyways, I came across this dude and he had a show I went to. I never, ever thought I would have a copy of, let alone a video of. And it was, and I'll only say this name one time, and it is a band, but it's Kitty Porn, KP, with Shannon Larkin and Jay from Wrathchild.
Oh, I remember you telling me about that.
Oh, dude, those guys were they were like a hardcore punk with a bunch of humor.
They couldn't put their name out on the marquee because it would say like Kitty Porn here.
Yeah, worst name of all time. You know what I mean? You can't even research that.
That's
band
like
online.
You're paying free beer.
Yeah. or nobody live tonight. Nobody. But we went and saw him at Jack's down in Northern Virginia, this cool little bar down there. And it was probably like 5-6 years later that video popped up. And I'm like, you are shitting me, man. I was all over that, man.
That happened with me in Nashville Pussy from the first tour.
I was just going to mention them because that's a band you can't type in either.
They're one of my favorite bands. But I went to see Nashville Pussy in Philly on South Street at Upstairs at Nick's in like 97, 98. Nick's is long. I think Nick's probably closed 2 weeks after they were there. But and I was at like a record show probably 10 years ago. And looking through, probably more than 10, but looking through VHSs, and there it is, Nashville Pussy. Upstairs at Nick's, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I'm like, "I don't care if this looks like dog shit. I'm buying it."
Exactly.
I got that and the Yo-Yo show, Yo-Yo's Backyard Baby show that I was at.
Oh, that's cool.
When we partied with Ginger from the Wild Hearts and all those guys till like 5 a.m.
Right
but
on.
the camera never moves, so you don't really see us. Like we're right where the screen cuts off. Like me and my buddy Steve, we were parked right at the end of the bar all night.
All right, one I picked. Hopefully you'll remember from last week. Thanks, George.
Yep. Oh, you got it.
Came by yesterday.
Nice.
This was the last one I needed from this label. I haven't even spun it.
Fucking beautiful, man.
Yeah, man, they do a killer job. But Scott, George showed this last week, and I was missing one. There's like this label's done like 7 bootlegs now, and I'm like, oh, that's the one I'm missing. And he told me where it was at. So like right after the show, I went and ordered it. Man, it's like
right on.
Yeah, man. I hope they keep getting that same shit in.
Yeah. There you go. He showed that, and I'm like, holy crap,
dude! I'll tell you what, being home, and like, the governor here says you gotta stay home. That is hard on the wallet, man. Because I've been all I do is fucking.
All you're doing is surfing the internet and finding records.
Yeah, I'm trying to be good, man.
I got 3 new boots coming by the same guy. I got a package from Japan coming, of like, of of like just normal records, Japanese pressings, but like almost like budget pressings.
Mhm.
Because my buddy's like telling me, yeah, I just get Japanese pressings because if you go online, if it has the OBI strip or the OB strip, you'll pay normally like $20-25.
Mhm.
If the records are missing the OB strip, you can get records for like $3 and they're mint.
Hell yeah.
It's crazy that one to the record collectors in Japan and the stores in Japan, that Obi strip's a big fucking deal apparently.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, even here in America, man, it's like
Oh yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Strip?
Yeah, there's something sexy about them because as soon as you see one, it's like,
oh
Japan,
shit,
you know what I mean?
Yep.
I just can't get over the price difference between having one and not having one.
Yeah.
Because I got, and this is how mental I am. He had 2 Benny King records, like a best of on Atlantic from '67, both Japanese pressings. One didn't have the Obi, and one did. And I bid on the one without the Obi first, and then I saw the one with the Obi, so I bid again. I figure I'll just give it to Mike, my son, if I win it.
Yeah.
So I won both for like $3 each.
Oh shit.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Like I just went ahead. I was like, I saw this guy's list of stuff on eBay. I'll bid on that. I won't pay any more than $5 for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I got outbid on half of the shit I bid on, but I still won like 6 records.
Nice.
I have a question for you. You just did it, George. Is it an OB or an OBI?
I always said OBI, but
I always said OBI too.
Me too.
I get reprimanded when somebody says, "Oh, it's a fucking Obi strip, you noob." Actually, somebody said that to me on YouTube one time. It's called Obi.
It was actually with John Captain Howdy, actually one who corrected me on it. He's like, "Dude, it's an OB, not an OBI." It's like, okay, I always called it OBI, but
It's an OBI to me, man. That's what I call it.
Yeah, me too. I never heard of Obi, but I guess it makes sense because it's not. There's no dots after each letter, so I guess it is Obi, right?
I have another question for you. Is it Neil Peart or Neil Peart?
Peart.
Exactly.
Who says Peart?
That's what ever since the dude died, great drummer, love him. But everything you see, everybody talking about Neil Peart.
Yep, I've seen that too on a lot of YouTube videos and stuff. Yep.
And it's
I must not be watching Neil Peart videos because I haven't heard him. I have never heard anybody call him that.
Oh my god, dude, it's everywhere. Like even on the news when they were talking about it, like on TV, Neil Peart.
Maybe we're wrong. Maybe
his name
wife or something finally came out and said, now that he's dead, we can finally say it's Peart, you fuckers.
But I don't care. It's Neil Peart. And I was actually watching School of Rock with Jack Black the other day, and he's in there teaching the kids how to rock, and he mentions Rush and Neil Peart. And I'm like, goddamn right, it's Neil Peart.
Jack Black says it's Peart. It's Peart.
But I just had to bring that up. I've been meaning to say something about that. It was driving me nuts. And I'm like, it's Peart, man.
Oh, dude, anybody listen to my own podcast I did about a couple weeks ago about Yngwie?
No, I missed that one. I can only imagine.
Like if you look in the title, it'll say what I kind of discussed or what I talked about. And I put Yngwie because in the video I got off on this Yngwie like speed metal or neoclassical players, right?
Yeah.
So I said, I think in the video I basically said, if Yngwie wasn't such an asshole, his career would have been a whole lot different, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that I think he would have been a lot more respected as a guitar player and more popular as a guitar player. His attitude in interviews and the way he treats band members, like singers and shit, is fucking horrible. And my opinion of Yngwie is he's a fucking asshole. Dude, I got so much hate for calling Yngwie an asshole. And I guys just answered him back. I'm like, what's fucking truth hurt? You know,
I thought that was common knowledge. I thought everybody thought
dude,
that.
I got some heat from people. Like, well, how can you call you're an asshole? I'm like, all right, then I'm an asshole.
Wow,
like, watch an interview with this dude. Like, he doesn't even have a singer now. He chooses to sing himself, which is horrible. But his playing really hasn't. I mean, when he first came out, I was in awe.
Yeah, me
I
too.
never heard
Stealer.
anything like that before.
Oh yeah, song with Alcatraz, I was blown away.
And he played with heart. He played with feeling. You could tell. And then he hit that stride in the solo career, like after Joe Lynn Turner left, and where he got kind of popular, but what not like overly like Bon Jovi popular, but got kind of like Trickster popular, like Tar, like that, like second tier kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
his head swelled like a motherfucker, dude. His head just went like this.
I think what got him was he was on the cover of every guitar magazine. He was Guitar Player of the Year over and over, and it's like it just went to his head. I think it was like
they also got pissed because I said that that he couldn't wash Randy Rhoads' jockstrap, and people were like, "Oh, Randy Rhoads was a little queer, and look how little gay he was," and I'm like, dude.
Well, how dare you have an opinion, man?
I know, man, but I'm like, you put Randy Rhoads up against anybody. I'm sorry, man. That kid, he was an unbelievable player, that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Yngwie was too. I don't think he still is. He plays the same fucking solo every album.
I'm good with Yngwie up through like Trilogy. The Alcatraz stuff, the Steelers stuff, and like the first 3 albums.
Yep.
After that, it's like, okay.
After that, for me, it was always hit and miss. Like, I loved Eclipse. I thought that album was amazing with, was it Gore and Edmund on vocals, I think? And then he went to, that was his first album for Elektra. And then that was his last album for Polly. That didn't do so well, but it was a great record. And then he got dropped and was signed by Elektra and put out Fire and Ice. That was fucking terrible, I thought. I didn't like that record at all. But, like, he has those records that, like, Eclipse I thought was really good, and Seven Sign was the first record that he had Mike Viscara on vocals.
See, I haven't heard any of those. Like, dude, I said, up through Trilogy, and I was, like, kind of done.
I mean, that's all you need is, like, if you wanted to check out anything later, it would be Eclipse and Seven Sign, I thought.
Yeah, those are pretty good albums.
Yeah.
If you like that style, I mean, he is what he is. He doesn't change much from it.
No, I don't have much patience with guitar wankers. You know what I mean? I mean, they're amazing, but after a while, it's like, okay, dude, you're a really good guitar player, but write a freaking good song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's gonna say the same thing. Exactly, write a good song.
Yeah,
not just to riff the solo over.
Right. It's like Satriani, man. Incredible guitar player, but like 5 minutes and I'm done. I don't need to hear anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was never like one of those instrumental guitar album guys anyway.
Yeah.
But there was always something about like those first 2 Malmsteen records, especially Marching Out for me. That album.
Yeah.
Those first 2 were great.
Yeah. If you think back, I mean, he had vocals on those too, and I mean, he had the guitar wanking, but he also had vocals. So it was like,
what's his name? Jeff Scott Soto.
Yeah.
Jeff Scott Soto was a great vocalist. I actually saw him on that tour at a little club in Philadelphia.
Wow.
Really? I think I saw him on, what was the second album? Was that Marching Out? Or was that,
Marching Out. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw him on
the Rape and Pillage tour. Rape and Pillage tour 84. I remember it.
Wow.
I think he was opening for Maiden that year. I saw him on Live After Death tour.
So that would have been
Power Slave tour.
Yeah, that's still Marching Out tour.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It was phenomenal. You know what I mean? But all right. Just wanted to before we get going any further, mention get out there if you can, support local shops for what's going on. I actually did a curbside pickup this morning. We got a cool shop next or local to us, about a half hour away. And I assume a lot of shops are doing this, putting stuff online. And actually he texted me. He's like, man, I got some stuff in you might be interested in. And so I dropped by and picked them up. Thought I'd show real quick. George, you already saw I was spinning this morning.
Nice. I just picked that up like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. I knew it was out there, and I remember you saying something about it. It's like, man, I got to get that. That's Any love for this, Scott?
Yeah, I like the Misfits, man.
Yeah, this was Michael Graves' first album, man. Just
now I've always thought that American Psycho was their first album back with him.
It was
with Michael Graves.
Yeah, Famous Monsters was the second one, right? and then
Oh,
American
that's what I
Psycho,
mean. The Famous Monsters is the first or second one with Graves?
second one, right?
I don't know. That's why I get it confused, man.
Yeah,
'Cause
I'm pretty sure.
that one that you just showed doesn't have the dates on it.
Right, I'm pretty sure American Psycho was first.
I can
and
look
then
it up, but
Famous Monster. Yeah,
I'm too lazy to look on Discord.
I remember when this album come out, it was like, really, why are you guys even doing this without Danzig? This is just stupid.
Until I heard it.
Yeah, a friend picked it up, and I'm like, holy fuck, man! And
Yeah.
I went immediately out and went and bought the CD. But has that ever been officially released on vinyl?
I think it came out then.
Okay, I've
On
never seen
vinyl.
one.
Yeah, but it's one of those super expensive ones.
So I grabbed this Metallica, Let the Gods Sort Them Out. I'd never seen this one before. This is France 84.
Soundboard or audience?
It's half and half. It's soundboard one side and audience second side, which is kind of weird. Unless there was a
Radio broadcast.
yeah, like half the show, then they put them together. And I grabbed this kind of for the hell of it. Like say I'm trying to support the shop, help him out a little bit. Faith No More.
That's
So love Faith No More in this era, up.
Yep.
And then grab this. This is 3 LP. Slaughter in the Studio, Metallica, and this is all demo stuff. 3 LP set. So and
early
actually,
stuff, right?
huh?
All early stuff, right?
Yeah, 83 through 84, I think. Yeah. And actually, this is like the first one is studio shit, and then fuck the studio, and then back to the studio, which I have all 3 of those as single LPs. I didn't realize until I got home, but it's like. Yeah, it's cool,
and it has all 3 versions of the track off of Metal Massacre, right? If I'm not mistaken, like because every time they put out Metal Massacre, there was a different version of that Metallica song on there.
Yeah. You're right.
I'm not sure if it has all those on here or not. I mean, this is a lot of demo stuff.
I had read that online somewhere about that one.
About this one?
Yeah, I don't have it, so I don't know. But
that's cool. Like I said, I just picked it up like 2 hours ago, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's funny, man, because I just picked that same one up.
Did you?
Yeah, with the Misfits. With that Misfits one you showed.
Right on.
I bought those 2 the same day as well.
That's cool.
I have a few that I picked up sitting here too.
Sure, man.
Iron Maiden, Reading Festival in 1980.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah, check that out.
I haven't seen that one. Right on.
This is on the Vernie label.
Man, I'm loving all these boots, man.
Me too.
Yeah, this one just came out, and I actually found it on Amazon of all places.
Really? Wow.
And then this one's also on the same label.
I haven't seen that one either. That's cool.
It's kind of a compilation of live material. So you've got a bunch of early stuff from '74 and like one side '74, one side '78. But there's a song on here, a really long song called "Mother Son," which I've never heard before.
Wow, right on, man.
From '74.
What label's that one?
Vernie.
Okay.
VERNE.
Wait, Vernie's an old. Isn't that an old metal label from back in the 80s? Do you think they're using that as a?
Could be. This label's from France.
Well, the Vernie. Wait, don't show me. Is the Vernie logo like a red box in a red box or a black box or?
There it is, right there.
That's it. Yeah, Vernie's like that was a real deal label back in the day.
Somebody just.
Yeah, it looks like somebody's doing that.
That's the same way with these Metal Mania.
Yeah.
They look all Japanese and everything.
Yeah.
Metal Mania was a Japanese label back in the late 80s, early 90s, I think.
What, a bootleg label?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, just a regular label?
Yeah, kind of like a bonsai thing in Canada. That's cool. I picked that one up. That's cool.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't have that one either.
Right on, man.
This one's been distributed under a bunch of different titles. So I have a silver CD version of this as well. But it's Denver 1980.
Nice.
Sweet.
It's decent sound. It's a radio broadcast, but it's weird because when have you heard it yet, Reno?
Yeah.
Because when the effects kick in, like when they kick on his delay, all of a sudden it's like real loud.
Yeah.
The vocals are real loud all of a sudden.
These
boots, soundboard. I bet it's from the soundboard if they're getting those weird effects on there.
Probably. I've noticed on a lot of these boots, more so on these newer vinyl pressings. I maybe I just didn't notice it when I was younger. it's like when I first dropped the needle on them, it's like, okay, it doesn't sound too bad. But by like the second or third song, they really start sounding good. Like it's just like at a live show, they're dialing everything in, getting everything sounding good.
Yeah.
Right.
I never noticed that before, like, on old cassettes and all that. Maybe they just sound like shit to begin with. So,
I don't know. I was just always chalked up to my ears were getting used to it.
Yeah.
Scott, there's a question here for you. I'll put it up on the screen.
Are you jumping on the new reissue of Redeemer LP? I didn't hear about the new Redeemer. Who put that out? Aaron?
I don't know if hopefully he's still on.
If not, I'll ask him about it. But I know who
Yeah.
Redeemer is. Redeemer were like an 80s a Christian metal band. So
Right on.
pretty obscure stuff.
All right, let's move into basically talking to Scott here. Usually what we do whenever we have new people come or people join us on here, they just kind of get their background. It's always interesting. We all know each other, but we've never dived as far in some of this stuff. So basically, Scott, how did you get into music to begin with? What were the bands that kind of led you into it, and how old were you and all that?
I was in grade school when I was into sports when I was really little. So I was into I was into all the Philadelphia teams, man. Back then it was, who was the big pitcher for the Phillies back then?
Steve Carlton.
No, yeah, and who was the catcher though? The Hall of Famer who got kicked out.
Pete Rose was
Pete Rose,
first base.
I was really into all that because that was the 70s when I was going to school, and then I discovered Kiss, and that was a life changer. Buddy down the road got down the road. He was just blast music out of his, and he had this really cool bedroom that was just plastered with posters, and that just like became my I want that, and
Right.
so yeah, from there I discovered Aerosmith and Ted Nugent, Double Live Gonzo, and it was about 76. I started discovering all this killer music, Boston and Judas Priest and all these bands back then. So I was really young. I was in grade school, literally, like in 4th or 5th grade.
Right.
I remember I got into a fight in 78 with some kid because I told him that Draw the Line was better than the Jackson 5.
That's I got in a fight with a kid in 78. They need that on
like a Thin Lizzy lyric.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Scott? I'm 51. I think you're a couple years older than me.
I just turned 53, let's say 27th, 2 days ago, 25th.
Okay, cool. So we're all pretty much right in there. It's just crazy.
The three of us.
Yeah. You're what, 48, right?
Yeah, 48.
It's so crazy, guys our age. If you ask them that question, it seems like 90% of the time, the first band that comes out of their mouth is Kiss.
It is. Especially a dude.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Kiss was huge for me back then, man. That was like them and Aerosmith in my world, and not much has changed since then. I just added a lot more to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Aaron said it's on No Remorse out of Greece.
Oh, right on. Then yes, I will be picking that up.
Cool.
Right. Later, Aaron. Have a good one, man.
But
yeah, No Remorse is they have the decent label. They've been putting some good stuff out, and they also have been carrying all the stuff on my little label. So we do a lot of trading back and forth.
Oh, that's cool. Right on. All right, so basically you get into it in middle school with Kiss, and then 80s hit.
Oh, and then the 80s hit, and then it just kept, like I said, just kept building on and on and on. I never really, the thing is to me, I never really dropped bands. I never really stopped. Like I used to like Kiss, now I grew out of them. No, I never really did that. I just kept adding on more bands and more bands and more bands. Reading the old magazines, Hit Freighter and Circus and Cream, and I remember in high school, I think had to be like 82, 83. I remember reading that Motorhead was like voted the worst band ever. I'm like, who? I gotta check them out.
Right.
wow.
So I bought the live album from Motorhead back then, and became a fan of them immediately. So yeah, and then we had kind of a small group in high school that were all just metal fans, and one of those guys' name was Tony Lee. He's still a friend of mine to this day, and he ended up joining the band or forming the band Heathen's Rage.
Yeah.
Still friends with him to this day, but he got into all this really obscure stuff. So then '83, man, it just exploded because I discovered, bands like Anvil and Exciter, and just really started getting into all the speed metal stuff that was coming out. Metallica was a brand new band in '83, and Whiplash was like jaw on the floor, I've never heard anything like that before, So,
that's funny. Even that we're close in age, the time period between me and you, there was a lot of music happening in between, that time.
Oh yeah.
So it's funny to hear, like you said, you got into Kiss probably what year would that have been?
What was your first?
76.
76. So me, it was 78, and I was 7. And that I didn't know Kiss until I saw him on the American Music Awards, I think it was. But it's funny, like would you say 52?
53.
53. I'm 48. That's 5 years. But back then, 5 years felt like 25 years, I think.
Yeah.
But there was so much in between, like, happening. Like you said, you got in more into the power metal shit and Exciter. See, I just missed that stuff. I was getting into, like, after Kiss, it was like Maiden.
I got into Maiden. Killers was the first album I heard from Maiden.
Yeah, see, mine was Power Slave, I think.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how, like, different eras bring in different people, and
see, I'm right at the end of Number of the Beast and whenever Peace of Mind come out, which there's our age right there. You know what I'm saying? Scott, and then me, and then you were an album later, George.
Yeah,
a little bit younger.
Yeah, it was in high school. This was high school, man. I was discovering all kinds of great stuff in high school.
Yeah.
But see, I missed, like, Anvil and those bands, like, and I never really went back to them as a teenager anyway. Like, as I got older, then I went back to them. But it's funny, like, when you mentioned Anvil and Exciter, I'm like, yeah, I just missed all that shit,
Yeah, that stuff was under the radar for me too until later. Like, you know what I mean? Coming in the '80s was Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and all the big bands, the A bands.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until, like, probably like Metal Blade really kind of started taking off, and you had Lizzie Borden and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that kind of woke me up to, holy shit, there's all this, there isn't just the bands in Circus and Hit Parader. There's bands in this Metal Forces magazine. This is the kind of shit I need to be checking out.
That magazine was the best.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Or Kerrang! I got into pretty early in the '80s too when that one came out. And the other thing is that band Heathen's Rage I was hanging out with, they were actually at the time playing a lot of those other bands live. So while other bands were playing, the same old '70s stuff, those guys were playing Queensryche, Queen of the Reich, and freaking Lizzie Borden. They were playing, American metal and stuff, songs like that. So they were turning me on to all kinds of bands at the time. All the stuff that was coming out on Metal Blade, all those Metal Massacre releases. Yeah. They would get a Metal Massacre release and they start learning the songs on it. So I was learning all that stuff right away.
I still remember, speaking of local bands doing that kind of stuff, like Wrathchild, when I first saw them, they were like an AC/DC cover band. You know what I mean? They were doing Judas Priest, AC/DC, and then classic rock kind of stuff. And then they were a 5-piece. Brad just sang. Then all of a sudden the bass player quit. Brad starts singing and playing bass. And the next time we see them, they're doing South of Heaven and stuff off Master of Puppets. And it's like, okay, we just shifted into gear now. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, it wasn't long they got signed and all that. But it was like, that was kind of the era when it was like, okay, Metal Blade, Metal Forces magazine, and everything just exploded right there, like 86 or 85 for me, I guess it was.
Yeah, metal. If anything came out on Metal Blade in those 80s years, I was on that stuff, man. That was.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who it was, man. If Metal Blade put it out, I was buying it.
Hell yeah.
I was like that.
Early Fates Warning with John Ark.
What's that?
Just early Fates Warnings albums with John Ark were.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What was that, George?
I was like that with Roadrunner in the early days. Yeah, like because of King Diamond and Merciful Fate, I think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
with Roadrunner too.
Yeah.
It's how I discovered like Toxic and Realm and bands like that. It was just because of the label they were on.
Yeah, like I didn't buy a lot of Roadrunner stuff, but I mean, anything on Metal Blade I bought obviously is like a little more of the melodic, not the heavy, like Fate's Warning at the time. They were a little heavier, but I liked them back then. But it was weird, like yeah, the Roadrunner stuff. I think because I guess Roadrunner distributed to Merciful Fate and King Diamond stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I just remember like Metal Blade and Shrapnel, yeah, all the American labels, and
Shrapnel, yeah.
Mike Varney's label. What the hell was Varney's?
What Shrapnel?
Yeah, Shrapnel's Mike Varney.
No, not Varney, but where Metallica started. Jesus, went out of my head.
John Zula or Zazula.
Yeah.
Zula, yeah, that's it.
What was the label? I can't think of it.
Silver label, like
Megaforce. Yeah, Megaforce. That's it. Jesus. But yeah, I remember all those labels. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, you know. And at the time, I felt like I kind of had a handle on all the '80s metal, the underground, and then late '90s, I started working for Dave. You met him, and he was selling metal like crazy, and that's what actually got me really hardcore back into vinyl. And he just had all this metal from the '80s I had never seen or been able to track down. It was like, you know, like bands like Cities, huh?
The Dave that used to do the record shows?
Yeah, Weber.
Yeah, where's he at? Is he still around?
He tries, you know, selling vinyl here and there. It's just everything kind of dried up, you know, for him. His main thing was old metal and vinyl. And, you know, that stuff's harder to find now. So,
yeah.
Dude, in the late 90s, I first hooked up with him. He had like, well, I told you about going to one dude's house and bought his collection. It was like 3,500 albums, vinyl, all metal, nothing but metal, you know, and that was like, yeah, not a big deal. Take it and throw it with the rest of it.
Yeah.
But over, you know, 7-8 years,
they all skyrocket.
He sold everything, and he just can't replace that stuff now.
Well, the last time we saw you and I were together, I think was the last time I saw him. Remember, he got that one last metal haul. You came up here.
Yeah, we were all. He was holding it for us. Remember?
Yeah, man, we went ape shit on that stuff.
yeah. He was. I worked for him I told this story. I worked for him for 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And never took a dime. Yeah, I took everything in records and CDs. Yeah. So he definitely helped me build stuff up. But all right, so I guess next is kind of your Ultimatum years, right?
Yeah, I actually became I call it my super Christian years. Around 1990, I got involved in a church that was very controlling. Mm-hmm. And I actually dumped my entire collection in 1990, everything I had.
Wow, I remember you talking about that before. That's crazy.
Yeah, I sold it was weird because the church that I went to, they really had convinced me that, you know, it was all evil and all bad and whatever, you know. That's my fault for letting them get into my head like that. But even then, they wanted me to like destroy it all. And even back then, I'm like, I'm not destroying all this stuff, man. I spent years collecting this stuff, and I'm not a Nazi. I'm not burning this stuff, you know. And so I ended up selling it off and sold most of it to a local record shop. But I had so much that they couldn't buy it all at one time, so I had to take it in loads. And every week I'd take another load, and they'd buy it and buy it and buy it. But I ended up taking the money from that and buying and using it as a down payment on my first house.
Well, there you go.
So that worked out. Yeah. And then of course, I got my head back a few years later and and started rebuying stuff back again. It's a kind of an odd story, but that church, I was going to that church, and I had joined Ultimatum, who had been around for maybe a little less than a year without a vocalist, and I joined them as their vocalist, and I was all excited about it. And I went to the church, and I'm like, "Hey, we're doing our first show, and we're playing here, and can I hang up a flyer?" And they're like, "No, we don't support that stuff. That's all evil and satanic." I'm like, no. The lyrics are all Christian. It's a Christian band. No, it doesn't matter. It's all incantations. And I'm like, what? So the odd thing was like the very next week, it was a huge church. I'm talking thousands of people. The very next sermon that he did, and I still have it, a cassette tape of the sermon, was he taught a sermon on Christian metal and how it was nothing but incantations.
Wow.
And if you have any of that stuff in your house, You need to get, it doesn't matter if your kids have it or if you have it. If you have that stuff in your house, you're inviting demons into your home. You need to go home and you need to dump that stuff right now. You don't even ask. It's your home. It doesn't belong in your home. Just destroy it.
So is that what kind of woke you up to get out of that church?
Yes. It was that very sermon that did that, because I approached him afterwards, because now I knew some of the bands he was talking about, like Deliverance and Tourniquet, and I knew these guys. I'd seen him in concert and I met them, and I'm like, what is he talking about? And then there's a band called One Bad Pig. I don't remember them or not, but they were kind of a crossover punk band, and they have now come out called Swine Flu, and there's a kind of play on words with a pig on a skateboard. He's up there. These guys are promoting disease, and I'm like, no, they're not.
They hear shit or make up shit that they want to hear.
Right. And that's the thing. So after this sermon was over, my wife and I went out and approached him, and we were very involved in this church at the time. And I went out and approached him and talked to him about it. I'm like, that stuff you said about these bands isn't true. And I started, and as we're sitting there talking to him, a bunch of people start circling around us, a bunch of people, and they're all praying. And my wife is listening to him, and they're all like, just keep praying for him. They'll give in. I'm like, all right, I'm done here.
Wow.
If you're going to actually if you're actually going to believe lies, and I knew it was straight up lies, none of it was true. And I mean, I don't blame the guy for it. Maybe he thought it was true, but then I'm sitting there telling him it's not true. And here's why. And instead of saying, oh, wow, I'm sorry, I should have said that. It's no, just keep praying for him. He'll give in. So that was
on a lot nowadays still.
It still happens. Yeah, it's very
even in politics, they do. One politician says something over and over and over again.
Say it enough, and
you say it enough, and you think that's what it is.
Yep. So
that's
anyhow,
I mean, honestly, I don't know your political beliefs, Scott, but everybody I think knows I'm not a Trump guy, but I will, the way he's handled this thing over the last couple of weeks, I couldn't wish that on anybody, no matter who it is in the White House. You know what I mean? What he has to deal with and his people have to deal with going on for this Corona thing. It was like Bush in 2001. Like,
it's no matter who's in there.
What do you do?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's I don't wish. I'm not a Trump flag waver either. But what bothers me is all the people I see online saying, "Oh, I hope he gets it and dies." I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no,
you're kind of stepping over a line there, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between not liking his politics and actually hating somebody.
Yeah. See, Greeno knows I hate him. I hate the man. But it's not since he's been president. I've never ever liked his type or him, even when he was popular in the 80s, when he was writing his book and he was like on Entertainment Tonight and all that shit. I'm like, this guy's an asshole, and then the years go by and it's like when he said he would run for president years and years ago, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. And then he does it like later on. I'm like, there's no way this fucking guy's going to win. Look at him. Listen to him. And he wins. And you're like, holy shit, but I get it. You look at the other side and you're like, you see her and you're like, ugh. I get it. I get why he won. I mean, I didn't vote for him, but it was like lesser of two evils thing, It's just. Right. But again, I wouldn't. What they're going through down there to try to get this all under control. I wouldn't wish that kind of job on anybody, no matter
any of them, from the presidents, governors, mayors, all.
No matter if I hate him or not, he's going to come out and say something in his daily press briefings that he's been doing lately that people are going to think he's an idiot.
Yeah.
But then he'll say something that like if you sit back and listen and say, well, if he said it this way, I get it. It's just the way he says it. It's just.
Yeah.
But
I hate politics, so
yeah, I'm there too.
I got real involved with it during this last election in 16 because I did not want this guy in the White House. I just didn't. So I did everything I could to try to keep him out of here around here, and didn't work. But now
did Pennsylvania was Democrat or Republican?
Well, my area, like where I live, is Democrat. I mean, after the polls came out, I saw that our area here, she won, but Western PA was, I think, from Harrisburg or from Lancaster, which is like an hour west of me, all the way out to the Ohio border was all him. And I, when you don't go out, I mean, my wife's family's from out that way, but they never talked about him. They always liked Obama and they were voting for her. So I didn't, even going out there, I never knew, like, during that time, like, wow, these people fucking love Trump out here. It wasn't until we went to the mountains to go fishing. There's a guy that coming into the lake, he always has this big, like, huge display in his front yard. And the first year we went, it was like Hillary Clinton in prison, like her standing in this cage.
Yeah.
And then the next year we went, it's all like Trump and flags and everything. So, that's when I knew, like, oh shit, man, most of PA's probably right leaning, but I didn't know.
So basically, Ultimatum woke you up, and then
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I did Ultimatum for 20 years.
Wow. How many albums did you guys?
We did
release?
6 full-length albums, 1 EP, and any number of demos.
Wow.
I'll be honest, dude. What year was the first album?
We finally released the first album, 1995. It came out.
Well, that's
around. We have kind of, the first album's weird because we put out a demo in 93, we put out a demo in 94, put out a demo in 95. Then we got offered a record label in 95, and we didn't take it because it required us to tour full time, and I can't remember the name. What was the name of the label that Joe Satriani was on? You remember? I still have the contract too. Anyhow, whatever. It was a somewhat major label.
Was that Maverick or something like that? I can't.
Yeah, remember. It was like Geffen. It was on a Geffen spin-off label.
Yeah. So anyhow, we didn't sign it because it basically what they said was we had to record the album at their studio under their cost, and then they could decide at the end whether they actually wanted to put it out or not. If they wanted to shelve the album, they could shelve the album, but we were still responsible for paying the money back.
So they wanted your soul, is what they wanted.
Basically, so we had a drummer who was a lawyer's assistant. So the lawyer looked at it and he basically told us, if you guys sign this, you guys are nuts. So we didn't do it. I always wondered if we did, whether that would have, what change would that have been, But anyhow, we signed for another small label, but the small label didn't have any money to have us re-record the album. So what they did was they took all those demos and they put them together. So our first album actually ended up coming out in 1997 under, which was all those demos from 93, 94, 95.
I always wondered, because, like, being honest, I'd never heard Ultimatum until meeting you.
Right.
So Van says Relativity. Is that the name of that label?
That's it.
That's it.
That was it. Yep, I still have the contract. I still have the piece of paper, the letter and everything.
Yo, real quick, Vance, how was the rest of your donut?
That was pretty good.
Scott, did you see his donut video? Vance's donut video? We'll have to.
I didn't see that one.
Reno, you'll have to send them the original one, and then it's funny.
But like I said, I'd never heard you guys till we met, and then definitely checking you out, and you sent me some stuff over the years, and it's like he said delish, but
there it is.
But that makes sense because for me, it was like I kind of got out of metal when about Pantera time, once they got signed and the big Cowboys from Hell come out.
Right.
I was kind of done for a little while, and I went into like believe it or not, like alt country and all that, and I was digging back into old punk and all that kind of stuff. And then in the early 2000s, I kind of picked back up on metal. So I think that's how I missed you guys. It was like,
yeah, we were metal, and we were doing metal throughout. I call them the musically depressed '90s when heavy metal was a dirty word and we didn't give a crap. And we actually, our slogan back was still flying our metal freak flag all the way through the '90s.
Yeah,
because we didn't care if it wasn't popular or not. We weren't making any money at it. We were just, this is what the kind of music we like. This is what we want to do, and so we just kept playing the kind of music we wanted to play through the '90s.
Right. I would have hung out if some of the metal bands hadn't tried to change so much because metal was a dirty word at that point.
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, Maiden with different singer, Priest with a different singer, and I don't know. And then the whole black metal, death metal thing come along, and I could not give two shits about all that stuff.
I still don't like the black metal stuff.
Yeah, it just wasn't for me. So
I love the movie though.
But then there was all the bands, and there's also all the bands like Def Leppard, and I can remember several bands where they were like, all of a sudden they were like, we're not a metal. We were never really a metal band. They're like, you freaking liars, man. And we were always just a pop band. No, you were a metal band. You rode that metal wave while it was popular, and you're on the front cover of all the Metal Faces magazines, and all of a sudden it's not popular anymore, and you're doing a grunge album claiming you were never a metal band. Yeah,
yeah, Warren.
Exactly. You know what I say to that? I agree with you. I'm never buying anything else from you. I got your first three. That's all I need. So I haven't heard a new Def Leppard song since 85, 80. Well, Hysteria was probably the last album I heard.
Well, I got to say, it inspired me. I wrote the song on our second album. We have a song called Never. And that song was actually inspired by those bands who were, I call it, selling out to the suits.
Yeah. Def Leppard wanted to be the next Led Zeppelin. That was their whole thing.
I don't see. I don't agree with that with Def Leppard.
Really?
I think they were in a space at the time, a place at the time with the one-armed drummer that they kind of had to go to that electric drum sound that made them sound like they sold out. You know what I'm saying? Because it was an 80s sounding drum kit at the time in 87. All the big shit was like Tears for Fears and that kind of shit, right? Like,
yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah, but I'm talking more like the slang stuff, you know, when they were like, when they made an intentional right turn, and Joe Elliott was doing interviews in magazine stuff like saying, you know, we were never really a metal band, we were never really a hard rock band, we were always just a pop band, and like, baloney, you were never a hard rock band.
That stuff pisses me off.
I would say that they were never really a metal band, but they got lumped into that new wave of British metal when it first happened, didn't they?
Yeah,
they were like one of the first.
They sounded just like all those new wave of British heavy metal bands.
Yeah, that's true. They did.
First couple albums, definitely. I mean, Pyromania is where change kind of come in. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's where you get Mutt Lange coming into the thing and changing their sound a lot and giving them that more pop sound.
Well, that was High and Dry, I thought. Didn't Mutt?
He did High and Dry first. That's Pyromania is where he really became, you know, the sixth member of Def Leppard.
Yeah.
Well, they took over the world with that. Yeah. Do you remember when that album came out? It was like, Jesus Christ, you couldn't get away from that anywhere, man.
And everybody was trying to sound like that. Everybody wanted that studio sound. That's everybody did on Pyromania. And then the next album was just a waste of plastic, in my opinion. But you know,
what, Hysteria?
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's where I get like, I didn't love that record, but I can't rip it apart because it was like the first album that he didn't. You know what I mean? He used the electronic kit on, but when it went huge that year, like that summer when Pour Some Sugar on Me came out, I was like, oh man, they're done.
I'm sorry, but hearing Joe Elliott sing "I'm hot, sticky, sweet" from my head to my feet just ain't.
Not anymore.
I was just wondering, like when he walked into band practice, and he's like, "Hey guys, I got this new song," and he said, "I'm hot, sticky, sweet from head." Why didn't they just punch the hell out of him? What the hell's wrong with you, man?
Yeah.
Again, you know what? Mutt Lange's wife would have been better off singing that song.
Yeah, that's Shania. That's what her music was like. Def Leppard, man.
Yeah, it was. If she would have sang that same song, it would have been just as huge, and it would have worked.
No, you're right. You're
her singing. Right. She is pretty sweet.
Well, actually, if you think about the '90s country stuff, I remember when all that was going on, and I hated that. The big time country was like, okay, these are just '80s pop metal songs made into country songs. That's all it was.
Still are.
Yeah, they still are. Either that or now they're incorporating all the hip hop stuff into it. So
my dad, I go see him and we go out and he insists he has to drive every time we go. And he's like, new country on the radio. And I'm like, just shoot me now, dude.
I can't handle it, man. I can listen to old
as well.
And the worst part, it's like a top 40 one. So like if you're out for like more than 2 hours, you're going to hear the same fucking song 3 times.
Great.
And it's like, oh my God, Dad, can we listen to something else? And he can't hear. So he's like, what do you mean? Listen to what? I'm like, I'm putting something else on the radio because this is horse shit.
But speaking of bands changing, you know, I mean, we talk about the 90s being like that. But if you look at the 80s, that shit was going on too. Because, like, look at Kiss in the 80s trying to keep up. And even to an extent, Priest, like with Turbo, which I hated that album. I love that album now, but I hated it back then. You know what I mean? It was such a change. But
sure, you can look, a lot of bands doing that. Raven Pack is back.
Yeah. But you can look all the way to like the Stones and David Bowie. What they were doing in the 80s was like, holy crap, man. Yeah, I mean, they just look like another 80s band.
How about Dangerous
doing dance music?
Yeah. How about Dangerous Toys' fourth album?
The artist formerly known as?
I love it, but it's not Dangerous Toys at all.
No.
But it's a great record, I thought. If you can look past it, it's not Dangerous Toys, but maybe that's so different and so 90s sounding that it was just like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Exactly.
But shit, you can look at the first Maiden album, you know, and then look at the last. What was the last album in the 80s? Seventh Son?
Yep.
Yeah, probably.
It's a big change there, too. You know what I mean? But
I love those first two Maiden records, man. They're my favorite.
It's like the end of every era. They tried to proclaim metal was dead. And I have a collection of magazines from the late 70s all proclaiming that heavy metal had died.
I love when you get into it with people when they talk about, metal wasn't around in the 70s or whatever. And I just sit back and I read your stuff where you're showing, like you said, magazines and all that, talking about metal in the 70s. It's like cracks me up.
And then it's always funny because they always try and discount it, like, well, although they didn't know what they were talking about. I'm like, what do you mean they didn't know what they were talking about? These were the people who defined what metal was back then. Right. You couldn't have a new wave of British heavy metal in the 80s if you didn't have a first wave in the 70s.
But like a lot of times when people that listen to modern metal talk that bullshit, it's like, you know what? Metal to me doesn't exist anymore because most of these new metal bands that I don't know their fucking names or whatever doesn't sound like the metal I used to listen to. So
the band,
I don't even
talk about the bands with names with sentences for names.
Yeah, it's like whatever, man. Yeah, go listen to your whatever it is and leave me alone.
What was the last one? Remember the band a few years back that were like Black Veil Brides or Black Brides or
Black Veil Brides? Yeah,
they can't have one album, dude. That one album they put out, they look like fucking Motley on the front,
really,
or on the back. I forget. That's what made me.
They look like Motley Crue from the second album. With all the
from Shout. And I'm like, oh shit, what is this? And I bought it, and I was like, all right, it sounds nothing like they look. I mean, it was heavier and it was melodic, but it was nothing like I thought it was going to be.
I remember all these newer bands putting stuff out. Like, it just makes me think what you're saying. It's like the hype sticker for fans of, Motley Crue, Rat, whatever, or for fans of Metallica and Testament and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you listen to that stuff and it's like, why did you put those band names on there? You have nothing to do with that sound.
Dude, I always did that for Paris, though.
Really?
Always did. Because independent stuff, that's what sold it. Like, well, these guys sound like Pretty Boy Floyd or...
Yeah, but wouldn't you try and get them?
Yeah, I would try and get them right
correct.
Where they should be. Yeah.
But
I know exactly what you mean. Dude, you like Kicks? Here, check this out. And you get home, it's like a fucking bad Tool record.
Yeah.
Well, I think every Tool record's a bad Tool record, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a Tool fan either.
No.
They are Tools. Well, I tell you, a good genre that does that is the obscure heavy 70s stuff. Everything that gets reissued, or these new bands that have that heavy 70s sound, anything that comes out, they put on there. Fans of Black Sabbath, Thin Lizzy, whatever.
That's always the top two you see, though, Sabbath and Lizzy.
It's like, come on, man. Well, you just put on there heavy 70s and call it a day.
I think Ripple music is good for that.
Yeah. A lot of them are, actually.
It's either Sabbath or the other one you said.
Thin Lizzy,
yeah.
Yep.
So,
that's because everybody's doing the dual guitar thing, and as soon as you get the dual guitar thing, people think Thin Lizzy.
Yep.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I really dug all that retro 70s stuff that was going on.
What was the band we were really into, man? Mother Earth?
Mothership.
They
Yeah.
were fucking killer, man.
Yeah, killer band. But it's like you don't need to put Sabbath on every album cover, and if you reissue an old album and you put Sabbath on there and you drop the needle and it's just heavy psych or something,
Yeah,
you fucked up.
like it's like keyboards and shit. It's like, wait a minute,
Right? It might be cool music, but
yeah. I don't remember. I don't remember Paranoid having keyboards in it.
Right.
It probably did, just in the background. But.
All right. So these days, Scott, you have No Life Till Metal, till leather.
You almost said No Life Till Meth.
That's it. That's
No
my
Life Till
label.
Leather.
No
That's
Life
where the
Till
name came
Metal.
from, was from the Metallica demo, the No Life Till Leather demo, No Life Till Metal. Yeah.
Right. That's where I got screwed up. And I didn't say meth, George.
No, I did.
So
The
the name came from my website that I started back in 1999, which was all it was just a music review site.
Which I love, dude. Have you ever been to that website, George?
Dude, I think Scott sent me an ultimatum just probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I went then.
What I love it that it looks first gen internet.
Right.
You never made it all crazy and all that, man. It just looks like, this is like when I first got on the internet.
Like
it is. Well, that's because I made it in 1999, and it's so massive. I just don't have the time or resources to it would take me forever to rebuild that thing.
Never change that, dude. It's awesome the way it is.
Yeah, I won't. I'm not going to change it. But that's where the name came from, was the No Life Till Leather demo, and then No Life Till Metal was the name of my website. And then when I started doing the YouTube videos, and it was actually you and LJ that got me to do the videos.
That's cool.
And so I called the channel No Life Till Metal, and then I've been working for the same company for 27 years. I work in a printing company. In the graphics department, and they had new management there about 5 years ago. And at that point, I was management there, and the new management was trying to think of a nice way to say a bunch of assholes, but they were a bunch of assholes, and to the point where they had pushed me to the point where I was having to take medication to deal with life.
Wow. I remember talking to you a couple times. You were saying
it
wasn't good.
It wasn't good. It was bad. And I had a kid in college at the time, and I couldn't just quit my job, and walk away. And I was making way too much money to just like find another job, or, doing what I was doing, because I was so specialized doing, graphics and printing. So I stuck it out, but my wife and I paid off all our debt as quickly as we could. And in 2 years' time, I left there. And so I retired a year ago, February, from there.
Wow.
And,
that's awesome.
I started No Life Till Metal Graphics, and because I had played an Ultimatum for those 20 years, every label that I had dealt with Ultimatum, I always asked them, "Can I do my own album cover? Can I do my own graphics?" And they were always like, "Yeah," because that's less money we have to spend, So every album that Ultimatum put out, I did all the graphics for it. I did the covers, I did the layouts and everything. Well, all those labels were having a hard time finding people doing their artwork, so I contacted them and said, "Hey, I'm going to start my own graphics company." So that's literally all the different labels that my band was on. I do graphics for now, and I do reissues and new albums and album covers and layouts, and that's what I do. Sit in front of a computer all day long doing that now.
That's awesome, man.
I see most of your stuff on Facebook when you post like proofs and pictures that come in.
Yeah,
that's where I see everything is Facebook.
Yeah, I post a lot of stuff on Facebook, and that's all. I pretty much steer clear of any kind of politics or religion on Facebook, and just post music.
Yeah, I don't. If something pisses me off, I put it up there.
It's funny. I don't ever post anything political at all. But back, I can't remember. It was probably about a year ago or so. I can't remember which of the terrorists that he took out. One of those terrorist guys, and I was like, "Yeah, right on, USA took out the terrorists." And man, people just ripped into me like I was a piece of crap because I put that on there. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I deleted the whole post. No more politics.
It's crazy, man. Like, I'll put most of my posts are like either goofy, like funny memes, or like music stuff, and then I'll post one political thing, and the same 4 people come out. "You're an asshole. You don't know what you're talking about. You left-leaning bag," and all this stuff. Like, they seriously go ape shit. Like, call me names and everything. It's crazy. It's like, I just leave it. I leave it like, you guys are doing all the talking for me. Like, just acting the way you're acting. So
yeah, I just don't even bother anymore. I use it to either promote promote the albums that I'm working on with those other labels, and then I started my own label at the same time. So
I had a guy I went to high school with. We were fighting about Trump about 3 years ago, and he told me that when the right takes over everything, he was going to show up to my front door and blow my head off.
Nice.
Real fucking stable. Yeah. I'm like, wow, are you all like that?
Understand that. There's just no reason to treat people like that, man.
No.
I just avoid all that stuff.
That's
I
have
a friend every once in a while, he'll post something and he'll get some people going, replying, and I'll just jump in and be like, hey man, you heard the new Junkyard album? Just
you do that to me too.
Just to piss them off.
But see, never like when you see me fighting with somebody on Facebook, I got a smile on my face behind the keyboard.
He's the same way. He just likes to stir the shit.
It's the same people that I love fucking with, because they'll come out and show their true intentions, I guess. Like by calling names and name calling, and I'm an idiot and all. I'm like, dude, you're just proving my point for me. That's all.
Yeah, that's why I just steer clear of it. It's not worth it to me. So I'd rather post music stuff and help the labels that I'm working for sell music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So what all labels do you work for?
So I do a lot I've been working for Rocks for years. Rocks Records out of California, Retroactive Records out of Illinois. I do a lot of work for them. Matter of fact, they're probably my biggest customer is Retroactive Records.
Nice.
Soundmass out of Australia.
Retroactive, they're the ones that reissue like the Totally Lost stuff from the 80s. Like,
you're thinking of Retrospect.
Okay. What happened to that label? Not to get on a tangent here, but they're not around anymore, right?
Which is fine with me, because they were basically bootlegging it all.
They were all boots.
Yeah, they were bootlegging it. So they were. So but Retroactive is the same thing. They do a lot of reissues. They do some new releases too, but they focus a lot on the reissues of obscure stuff.
That's cool.
And then I'm trying to think what other. There's so many obscure labels. There's so many labels. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, Retroactive is one of the biggest ones I've been working with. And then of course my own label, which is No Life Till Metal Records. So I actually partnered with Rocks Records on that one, so it's not 100% me.
That's what I was going to ask. That's Bill and you, right?
It's Bill and me, because I don't have the resources to put something out like that by myself. So it's him and I together. Cool. So basically, I'm his partner in Rocks, and he's my partner in No Life Till Metal. That's how it's been working for the last few years.
Right on. And he was the one that put out the incredible metal documentary, Metal Obsession.
Yeah, he put the Metal Obsession DVD out. Yep, exactly.
That's like one of the best documentaries ever.
Absolutely. Everybody watching should go track that down. Probably everybody watching was part of it, but still, go watch it again.
Most people that were watching are no longer do YouTube videos.
Isn't that funny, man? All of us are no longer on there. I mean,
Metal Theologian and myself, I think, are the only two. And John, Captain Howdy, come back a little bit too, but he's only doing guitar videos where he's playing guitar.
Now, I haven't looked for a while, but I wonder how many views that thing has on Facebook or on YouTube now.
Well, shit, I didn't even know it was back up on YouTube.
Yeah, it was never taken down. Yeah, it's still there. It had several hundred thousand views last I saw it, but that was
when we first, when you first hit us up with the idea of putting it out on disc. It was up, wasn't it up on YouTube first, and then when the DVD came out, you guys pulled it for a little while. I thought.
I think we took it down for just a little bit.
Yeah, I think you just put it private for a short time, and then he put it back. Because it was Corey's VC channel it's his channel. He still has it there though. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't even know he'd put it back up. I just thought, since the DVD came out, he just took it down. So
no, it's still there. Yeah, he left it. And the DVD has stuff that's not on the video on YouTube too. So
yeah,
that was awesome doing that with everybody, man.
That was fun, man.
I think it was come up with. I was talking to Aaron about it, if I remember right. He was like, man, how hard would it be to do this? Everybody's got a video camera.
Yeah.
And then we kept seeing Corey, how he was putting all of his videos together. It was like, man, there's the dude to do it with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did an awesome job. So
yeah,
I liked it a lot, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. If nothing else, that's a little time capsule of our VC days right there to me.
Big time.
Remember we started getting heat emails from
yeah.
like comments from people like bashing us for doing it.
Yeah. so
Oh
whatever.
yeah, quite a few of them.
I don't get that. I never understood that.
It was pure jealousy, man. It was just people were mad. I remember I got one guy who was just like my record collection will trump all yours put together, and I'm like, it's not about who has the biggest record collection.
Wow. Gotcha.
People mad they weren't invited, probably more than anything.
It was several people were mad they weren't invited, and it was like, well, it wasn't about that, man. It wasn't about who got the best record collection. None of us were like, oh, my collection is bigger than Greeno's, or Greeno's is bigger than mine. It's not about that, man. It was just It's just all about that passion for having the physical media in your hand and how you got to that point.
Yeah,
that and the group that came together there, I thought was awesome. You know what I mean? Because none of us knew each other. What, 3 years before that?
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
I didn't even really. I don't think I talked to Scott before that video. I think that's when we started talking. Is because we went back and forth about a couple records that maybe we were going to do at the same. We were going to show. Wasn't there like a email list going around like, well, I'm showing this Maiden one, so nobody else showed them that one.
maybe
Yeah,
I
there
can't
was-
remember.
Yeah, and that's when me and Scott really started emailing back and forth then, because I don't remember. I don't watch a lot of YouTube videos, as you can tell, like VC videos anymore. But I
Yeah,
used
me
to
neither.
watch us, like,
Mhm.
you know.
There's none to watch. There's
Yeah,
there's hardly any there.
Yeah, that's true.
But even back then, there were so many people that the three of us were watching each other. But
Yeah.
I was watching somebody you weren't watching, and you
Right.
were watching somebody I wasn't. You know what I mean? And unless you like, you reached out and said, "Hey, you need to check this guy out," and then they kind of come into the fold.
Well,
or
that's what you
whatever.
told me about Scott.
Mhm.
Yeah, Greeno told me
Oh,
about Scott.
Renee from Spain's still doing videos too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See, now
Yeah,
Renee's a guy I
Renee's
knew
and
before the VC.
Really, that's cool. Renee's awesome,
Wow.
man. It's like I think of Renee and you, Scott, kind of the same way. You guys are like, so there's no other way to say it, so metal, and you've lived for it, man. Renee is like never stopped, man, and he did the fanzines and everything.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Do you have any other, like, is all your stuff just metal and rock?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Some blues, but mostly metal and rock. Yeah.
I was actually going to ask that. Do you don't veer into, like, you don't have anything weird, like a little collection of gospel or something weird in your collection?
I do have some oddball stuff that sits kind of outside of it, but it's not like I'm a huge collector of anything but that. I mean, I even have some old hip hop stuff from the 80s in my collection,
Nice.
Cool.
I like some of that stuff that speaking of Philadelphia, Schoolie D, I've got a couple Schoolie D records in my collection.
There you go.
I do too, I think. I have one.
Saturday.
Yeah, I got one.
I mean, that's just the stuff that I grew up with,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got some old gospel stuff. Keith Green, I'm a big Keith Green fan. Funny,
I
I just got a record right here from somebody. I haven't even showed it in the video yet, but I'm a huge Phil Keaggy fan, guitar player, and he got me a. It's actually Phil Keaggy in Second Chapter of Acts, and he got it signed for me by Phil Keaggy.
That's cool.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, there's some stuff. But mostly, yeah, I mean, I'd rather listen to metal than anything else. So that's pretty much what I listen to all the time.
That's another thing I think about you too, Scott, is you're the king of the BC trades and Love Train stuff and all that. It's like, man, seems like you always have packages coming and going. Somebody else will show something they got from you. It's like we all kind of did that.
Mhm.
But man, you took it to like the next level. You always have stuff in the mail. It seems like one way or the other, coming or going.
Yeah.
I still do that, and the funny thing is when I started my business back 2 years ago now, and I made it an official business. One of the things I did is they asked me, well, what is your business, and you had to get your business license, and I put that as part of my business as reviewing and giving and sending music, and they're like, what does that have to do with graphics? And I'm like, well, I'm doing graphics for music too, and so all the mail now is tax crap. So every time I send something out, I get the receipt because it's part of my business.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah,
Right on.
yeah. But yeah, I love sending people music. I get a lot of free stuff, so why not give out? Especially if I get more than one, I don't need 6 copies of the same exact record. So if I get more than one, I send it off to somebody else who might dig it. I say that, then I have like 10 copies of Draw the Line.
I was just getting ready to say, I wish I was that way, dude, but I
Well,
try.
I mean, certain bands, like Aerosmith, I've got like 8 copies of Draw the Line on vinyl. They're on different versions of it and stuff, but different formats.
That's like Power Age and me.
You got a million
Power
copies.
Age. I almost bought
Aerosmith,
enough-
Kiss, Thin Lizzy, and Ted Nugent. Those are just 4 bands. Are just anything I get by in my. Matter of fact, I don't know if you can see above my head. I think there's a right here. It's out of the picture a little bit, but there's a Ted Nugent 8-track up there. There it is up there. You see it?
That's cool.
Yeah. LJ gave me that. It's still sealed. Never been opened.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
LJ
I'm
was
not,
the
I'm not a
8-track
huge
king
8-track
for-
collector, but
Yeah,
I think I have like
on them.
6 copies of that.
Damn.
I bought a box of 8-tracks about 8 years ago. You remember that? And I pulled the AC/DC ones out of there, and I sent the rest to LJ.
I did the same thing. I bought a huge collection of 8-tracks, and I sent most of them to LJ.
Yeah.
I remember when he was on that 8-track kick,
Yep.
and that bastard got everybody looking around for 8 tracks and showing 8
Now look
tracks.
at him.
What are
Now he
you doing?
disappeared. That's why he disappeared. He was like, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to send all these assholes out for looking for 8-tracks.
Yeah.
And then we look for 8-tracks and find them. And he's like, he never does a video again.
He kind of did that with cassettes too. He got everybody hot on cassettes there for a little bit.
Yeah.
I sent him a pot. I walked into one of those, 5 and dime stores, and I found a whole batch of metal cassettes for 50 cents each.
Right on. Hell yeah.
And I'm talking like not just not like Metallica and Iron Maiden. It was all this like obscure stuff. Matter of fact, I remember Realm and Toxic being in there and stuff like that.
I would have bought all those.
Yeah, I would have too.
I bought the whole damn thing. I sent the whole thing to LJ.
Wow.
I think I kept one because it was a Megadeth a pre-release cassette for one of their albums in there, and it had Dave Mustaine talking before each track and talking about the song. I kept that one. I think that's it, and gave him the rest.
Cool.
He'll be like, when I wrote this song, I was so awesome when I wrote it. It was the best song I ever wrote because I'm awesome. And I love Dave, but that's him. Although he was fighting some cancer lately, hadn't he? I guess he got the all clear. About
He must have, because they announced the tour and then canceled it because of the whole coronavirus crap.
But he had. Have you seen pictures of him with his gray beard? Oh,
Yes.
dude, like silver beard, like it looks so bizarre.
I saw just today though. He announced that his sister passed away today. I think.
Yeah, I did see that. Wow. Yeah, I didn't see how or why.
I didn't either. Yeah,
it's a shame.
I saw Chuck Billy has coronavirus. See that?
And
dude from Ramstein or whatever, the singer from Ramstein.
Yeah, that was false. Apparently,
he's sick. Really?
He is sick, but it's not.
He's sick and in the hospital, and he was in intensive care for a while. From what I read.
Yeah, but they said this morning it had nothing to do with corona, but they didn't say what it was. So, but we think right now, get that back. We think that Dave at the shop might have it.
Really?
Yeah, he's pretty fucking sick right now. So, I'm not saying he does, but
lung stuff.
Yeah. No, his is high fever and vomit. But I said to my other partner, Mike, there, he said, because I hadn't heard from Dave in like 3 days, which is not like him at all. He's like my second dad. So every time I called him, it would go right to voicemail. So finally I got a hold of Mike, and he's like, yeah, Dave's really sick. And I said, what? And he said, high fever, throwing up. And I said, well, that's not corona. And he said, no, but apparently we're in Massachusetts right now. That's the symptoms. Is really? High fever, vomiting, and maybe diarrhea kind of thing.
Well, I've heard so many. It's like sore throat. No, it's not a sore throat. Headache. No, it's not a headache.
Well, like everything. I think it hits everybody different. I mean, that's the way.
It definitely has something to do with your lungs, though. I know that's.
I think that's the worst.
That's the worst case scenario, because that'll give you, like, the older people give them pneumonia and ends up killing them. But so he didn't tell us he had a fever. Didn't tell Mike he had a fever for like 3 days. He just said he was throwing up. So finally we got it out of him that he had a fever. So I said, well, his brother called Mike, his brother Joel, because Dave's dad passed away like a month ago. So he's been running like crazy back and forth to Massachusetts to get the dad's house cleaned out and everything settled. So I have a feeling not only has he been drained from doing that, plus losing his pop, the mental thing.
Oh yeah, that was
And
draining
now
for sure.
he's super concerned because the store's closed.
Has he gotten tested?
No, not that I know. But today he felt better.
Oh, that's good.
But he hasn't gone anywhere, and he said he's not going anywhere till next weekend. So, but he got better. He's getting better, knock wood. But it's just weird. Like, I talked to his brother or Joel, and he's like, "That's the symptoms up here for this corona thing: is the
Fever and
throwing up, diarrhea, maybe headaches, but other way like elderly are getting pneumonia, the lung thing." And a lot of young people now that they think that are vaping is why they're getting the lung thing now. A lot of younger people.
Hey, you're all blurry again, brother.
Try
There
this.
you go.
It's the light behind it, I think, sets it off weird.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, man, like
I got to stay away from the lung stuff, man.
that's the thing. My daughter, I can't have that, with my daughter. She has bad like lung shit, asthma and stuff, so I can't have her around it.
Scott, you were in a hospital, right? A few years back or a couple years back?
Yeah, 2015. I almost bit the dust. So I was really, really close. I didn't feel bad, but the doctors kept telling me, you're going to drop dead at any minute. And I'm like, all right, cool. If I drop dead, I drop dead. And they're like, what? I'm like, oh. I was always of the opinion, if God takes me, I'm done. It's nothing I can do, but I'm not going to sit here and stress over it. But yeah, it was funny too. My wife's sitting in the hospital room with me, and the doctor would come in. He's like, man, you could just drop it any moment. My wife's like, he ain't going anywhere.
Why? What was wrong?
I had PE, pulmonary embolisms, and you have basically 5 compartments in your lungs.
Yeah.
3 in one side, 2 in the other, and 4 of the 5 were completely blocked with blood clots.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
dude, I can't believe that was 5 years ago.
Yep, 5 years ago.
How did I not know that happened? Greeno never.
I don't think you really.
I didn't really tell a whole lot of people.
Okay.
Somebody told everybody though, because I got a lot of calls from the people in the VC.
Man, I had no idea.
Friggin' LJ called me every single day while I was in the hospital to make sure I was doing it right. Yeah.
5 years ago, that's when all my shit went down, and I was in a pretty bad headspace. So
yeah, you might have missed it.
I might have missed it. Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I mean, the thing about it is that because I was at that time doing bodybuilding and I was working out so heavily and I was doing a lot of cardio and stuff like that, my lungs were strong enough to take it. And I ended up. I mean, if I hadn't done that, they said I would have dropped dead.
Wow, that's
and
crazy.
how they treated, like blood thinner and that kind of thing, or they have to?
Yes, blood thinners. So they give you shots for a while to break them up quicker. And I was in the hospital almost 2 weeks, I think, with that. And then they send you home when you're just on blood thinners. Now I'm on it for the rest of my life.
Wow, man. How did you feel like when you went to the hospital? Like, did you feel like you were going to?
No. And I think they kept telling me, the thing was, I went to the gym on a Monday and I did a chest day and I was going heavy. At that point, I was bench pressing 405. And I did that on Monday. I felt fine. Bench pressed my 405. That was my heaviest, and then do the rest of the chest. Next day, I went to the gym again. We did legs day, and we were warming up on the leg press, and we started off with 400 pounds warm up. And I sat down on the machine, did the 400 pounds, which sounds like a lot, but it's not much for legs. And I stood up, and I'm like, something ain't right, man. I don't feel right. Just something felt off, So he's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, all right, cool. No worry. So we put a couple hundreds on the side and did 600 pounds. I did it again. I stood up. I'm like, nah, I said, something ain't right, man. I said, I'm going to the doctor. So I left. I didn't even finish the workout. I went straight to the doctor. And sure enough, the doctor checked me. She's like, she had me walk up and down the hall with a little thing on my finger that checks your your oxygen levels and stuff like that. And she goes, "You're responding like you've been smoking your whole life." And she goes, "And I know you don't smoke." She goes, I'm taking you to the hospital." So they rushed me to the hospital, and then I'm in the hospital. It's funny, and because I was a bodybuilder and I was all fit, and I had a 6-pack and I was looking all good then. And they were walking me all over the hospital to all these different rooms, had me do all these checks. They walked me back. They did a CT scan, and then after they did the CT scan, that's when they figured out what it was. And then all of a sudden, it was like ridiculous. Don't move.
Yeah,
Right.
Why are we
Freaking us
walking?
out, like, don't move. We're gonna pick you up and put you on the gurney. I'm like, I can get on the gurney. No, you can't. Stay there. I'm like,
Wow.
it's really weird. And I'm laying on the gurney, and I'm like, I gotta pee. Something fierce.
Oh, dude.
I'm laying on the gurney, and the nurse like, you can't. And I'm like, I gotta pee. And she's like, I can put a catheter in. I said, no, you're not. I said, I'm getting up to pee. I said, this is not. I'm not in jail. I get up and pee if I want to pee. And she's like, well, just stay there long enough for the doctor to come talk to you. I said, all right, fine. So the doctor comes in, and he's like, what's the matter? I said, I gotta pee. And he's like, well, go pee then.
Scott was like, look at this water fountain. Like laid in bed.
He ain't put no damn catheter in me.
No, I better be out cold if you're gonna put a catheter in me.
Yeah, but anyhow, they kept saying that I should be in massive pain, and I just wasn't. They said anybody who has this experiences massive pain, and I'm like, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any pain at all. The only reason I knew was something felt off when I was working out.
Right.
So, Greeno, the moral of this story is we don't work out.
That's it.
Stay out of the gym, man.
Well, that's the thing. You know what? What caused it was the heavy lifting.
Oh, no shit, really?
It was from the doing that heavy weight. I must have somehow developed blood because my arms had gotten big. I was like at 17.5 inches on my arms. And from doing that heavy lifting, the blood clots came out of my arms and went into my lungs.
Wow.
Most people get them from their legs. Like you can like go on a long trip, like an airplane trip or a long car trip, and you can develop blood clots in your legs from sitting in a car for a long time. And then you stand up and they move up, and that's how people get them in their lungs, their heart, their brain, and all that kind of stuff. Mine was from lifting.
Wow.
So I still go to the gym, but I haven't benched 405 since that day. Last time ever.
No doubt.
I don't blame you.
It ain't worth it.
Nah. You were talking about having to pee. I've been in the hospital twice with AFib. And first time I was whacked out because I didn't know what it was. But the second time I went in, I knew what it was. I walk in, I'm like, hey, I'm in AFib. We need to do something here. And they're like, how do you know it's AFib? It could be, are you all right? Is your heart, it could be. I'm like, I've been through it. I know it's AFib. So anyways, they set me down in a wheelchair, and they're waiting to take me back. And I'm like, I gotta piss. I gotta go, man. My wife's like, stay there. They told you not to move. And I'm like, I gotta go. So I get up and I go. And by that time, the nurse comes back and she's like, what are you doing? Yelling at me. I was like, I gotta piss. So I sat back down. She's like, stay there. We'll take you back in a minute. 5 minutes later, I'm like, I gotta go again. Because I'm so amped up, I guess. I just kept having to go. And I'm like, I'm in AFib. I'm not having a heart attack. Just let me go piss. I mean, but that shit's not fun. The first time I went in, not to get into all this stuff, is like I thought I was having a heart attack. And as soon as I walked in and I said, hey, I've got chest pains and my heart's jumping around, they're like, doors open up, and I was on a table before they even asked me my name. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I remember when you called me, I think the day you got home. Were you in the hospital for a day or two?
The first time I was in for a night. The second time I was in for like 3 days. Yeah.
The second time is when you called me. I think you actually texted me from your hospital.
Probably, yeah. It sucked, man, laying there in the bed. I think I was texting you, Scott, when you were still in the hospital too, because LJ let me know you were in. It's crazy.
How do you know you're old? You start talking about the good times at the hospital.
Yeah.
Not good. I usually only have to go to the hospital if I get dehydrated when I'm sick. I've been pretty lucky, other than the knee stuff, but
we're all that age, man. It's coming.
Don't tell me that. I'm just gonna jump off a bridge now.
I haven't been back since, so
that's good. So what else is going on, Scott? You were saying, like George said, I don't watch VC videos anymore, other than a few. Like I'm still subscribed to you and a couple of the old school guys. But is the VC not going like it was, or is it just not?
There's a lot of people doing it, but it's, I don't know. I was always more into the guys like you guys that were showing all the hard rock and the metal stuff, and Metal Theologian and guys like that. And Aaron is still there, and I keep wanting to call him Crocus, but Rene from Spain, Crocus was his name online. He's still there, so I still watch those guys. And there's a few newer guys showing metal stuff that I'll watch their stuff, but it's just a lot of guys showing the same, Prince garbage that I'm just tired of seeing it,
Right. That's kind of why I got out of it. It was like, it was great, but it was like, I can only show records for so long, you know what I mean? And all that. And that's why I'm enjoying this. And we kind of talked about before. This is, I think, the next way to go. Everybody kind of do stuff like this. And actually, Mr. Bizarro, Aaron, sent me a thing tonight of 4 dudes kind of doing this. And they're talking about government mule and all that, which I'm not too worried about. But that's cool. VC guys start doing this. And,
there's a bunch of VC guys doing a all Kiss channel too now, I see. And they bring
really?
people on talking about them. Yeah.
That's cool. Is that shit? What was his name from up in Cincinnati?
Eli.
Yeah.
Eli's is one of the guys involved in that. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know they were still doing that. That's cool.
Yeah, and actually, funny thing, Eli ended up joining a band called Biogenesis. And Rox Records actually put out Biogenesis' last 2 albums, and he played on the last one.
Oh, that's
cool.
Awesome.
So I got to meet. I went out to California to watch them play a show, and Eli was with him. So I got to actually meet him in person. That was kind of cool.
Right on. I was just talking to Corey. He's doing another video for him. Putting everything together for, I guess, new album coming out. And I was like, dude, when you get it done, let us know. Maybe we can have it on here. Have you and Eli on here too.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'll be upfront. I know Eli was in that band. It's not my kind of music. Nothing against it. I just never really checked it out much. So I need.
Yeah, they almost called Black Widow that he played on, and it's kind of it's a little more modern than stuff you listen to, but it's progressive metal is what it is.
Yeah. That's cool. Nothing against it. I'm just saying, I don't listen to much modern metal, so I just didn't.
And I think it was more vocals than music when I say modern, because the vocals are a little more in the extreme than it's not Ray Alder. It's a little more I don't want to say screams, but it's a little more edgy. I don't know what the word is for it.
That's cool. So maybe be able to do that whenever Corey gets everything.
But he's not in Biogenesis anymore. He's in. They have a new name now.
Yeah, it's is it the same dudes or just? It's
all the same guys with different singer.
Okay.
Yeah, because they split with the singer for whatever reason. Lyrical issues. Actually, he wanted to do an album that they didn't agree with for whatever reason. So he wanted to do some kind of concept album. I can't remember the whole story, but he split and he's doing Biogenesis, all new members, and then all the members of Biogenesis are under a new name.
Huh. Trying to pull a Jeff Tate on him.
Pretty much.
Yep. All right. Well, this has been great, dude. I guess we're coming up on 2 hours. We need to wrap it up here pretty soon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Definitely do quick. Definitely do this again, man. I mean,
I love this talking to Scott was awesome tonight, because like I said, I haven't talked to Scott in so long now, even by email or anything, which most of it's probably, even if somebody tried to get a hold of me, I'm bad about texting and emailing back.
I'm texting you tonight. We doing the show? Oh, sorry, I was napping.
I was. I got up at 5. I get up at 5 every morning. It's almost my bedtime. What time is it? 6:30. I'll be in bed by 10.
Dude, 9 o'clock. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, man. I love it, dude. I never used to love getting up early, but this past year, I love getting up at like 5 o'clock. And my dad, when he moved and I went down and started staying weekends with him and stuff last year, that's when I started.
Got on his dad time.
I was on dad time that, for weekend, and I got used to it, because by the time 9:30, 10 o'clock rolls around in this house, everybody's doing their own thing upstairs anyway. So and then in the morning.
Did you pick up the Banshee Taken by Storm reissue?
No, I haven't. I've been seeing your reissues pop up. I just haven't picked up any of them.
That one's just like straight up your alley if you haven't heard it.
I have the original pressing. I haven't seen the reissue of it.
Yeah, we did a vinyl pressing of it.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people thought that dude in Banshee, the singer, I think his name's Tom or Don.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Flood.
Yeah, Tommy Lee. And when Tommy Paris joined Britney, about 70% of the people that came to the early shows thought that was the dude from
Banshee.
From Banshee, yeah.
Wow.
And I never put it together, but then when I saw a picture of him and heard him kind of, it was like, oh, I kind of see that. They did look similar. But it's funny, like that band, Banshee, I always hear like, oh, the Banshee singer was in Britney Fox. I'm like, no, it's not.
Scott, can we order directly from you, or do we have to go through? What do you use? Is it?
Yeah, NoLifeToMetalRecords.com.
Okay.
I don't sell anything directly out of my house. It all comes out of California, but
Okay.
Right
Are
on.
you noticing any delays with anything because of this virus?
Yes, because especially we use a lot of the places in California, and everything in California is closed.
Okay, but I mean, like as far as mail and UPS and
no mail problems because we did just close the No Life Till Metal store on eBay and Amazon though.
Yeah.
So that's all closed, but the No Life Till Metal shop is still open. Just the straight one. It's just that because of all the stuff going on, and Amazon requires you to ship within 1 to 2 days, and if you don't ship within 1 to 2 days, you get a strike.
Well, they can't even do that now, so
it's just not possible now. So we just took it down temporarily just because of that reason.
Yeah,
so it might take 3 days to get to the post office, and Amazon doesn't have that. They don't give you that leeway.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I was just curious about the Banshee because it's just funny. When I got the license for that, I'm like, oh, this is. I actually thought of you. I'm like, this is
really
this Reno album right here.
Man, let me ask you this: the Banshee record, if I'm not mistaken, was on Adco, right?
Their first full length album was on Atlantic,
and the one you reissued was
independent release that they never put out. Was never on a label.
Oh, okay.
That was their third album with the original members.
All right, then I never heard that record then.
And Max Norman is the guy who was the knob turner for that album.
Because I was thinking if you got like the licensing from Atlantic for somehow, but you didn't, right?
No, not for that one. No.
Okay.
We just did. I just did the with Retroactive Records. We just did the Baron Cross reissues, and we had to get those from. It's called Ryko Disc now, or Ryko Disc, or it's all Sony basically.
Yeah,
all those different labels are
either Sony or either falls under Sony or Universal, Warner Brothers.
Rhino Records is the same thing. Yeah, we had to sign a licensing agreement with them.
Rhino's Atlantic, right?
Atlantic and Epic and
Warner Brothers stuff.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
How hard is it to work with them to get this stuff?
It's terrible.
Not hard. It's just expensive.
Yeah. We've been trying to do the third Britney Fox record for 10 years, dude, because it's been out of print.
Yeah.
We can't afford to do it.
Wow.
No, it's expensive. They want too much money.
Yeah.
We tried to do the Rage of Angels album, and again, it's the band. This time's the band who is. We offer them way more money than the current rate is, and they were offended by it. We're like,
yeah,
all right. Well, then no one's going to put it out. Then it's just going to stay obscure, and it's never going to be released.
That's so dumb, man. When they have all that music sitting there and just want to be greedy about it.
Well, because a lot of these guys think it's
some of these 80s bands think their music is worth a lot more than it's worth now.
Yeah.
It's just not worth what it used to be worth.
Also, with the band was saying that.
Yeah,
the band. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I have guys like that with Britney, dude. They won't do anything unless there's a ton of money put forth. I'm like, well, we're not going to be touring ever again.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, what you're doing now is limited run vinyl. Everything's limited runs. It's like it's 1,000 or under. So there's just not the money in there. And then doing a record costs a good $10 a piece for the record. Once you factor in how much it costs to make the actual record, you got to pay for the licensing, you got to pay for the artwork, you got to pay for it, the mastering and the remastering and all that kind of garbage. You got a good $10-11 wrapped up in a record right there.
Right.
So
and that's just for the little dude.
Yeah.
So $11 to you and I, to Warner Brothers or something, they're probably paying $1.50 a piece for a record and selling them list for 25.
Yeah, the big guys are, but
Yeah.
they're also pressing 5,000 copies. So if you
Right.
take that same amount of money and divide it by 5,000 or by 300, it's a big difference.
Right.
Because it's not costing them that much more to do 5,000 than it is to do, but it's not worth for a small label like us to do 5,000 copies of anything, because
Nope.
I'm going to have 4,000 copies, 4,500 copies sitting in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Right.
Rotting.
Yep.
So yeah, even that Banshee record, we did the last Helix record, old school record, and even
Cool.
we only pressed 300 copies.
Is
Right.
everything pretty much selling out for you?
Most stuff is. Some have not. We just did the Circle of Silence records, which is David Reese, the old Accept singer, the guy who sang on Eat the Heat, and then Larry Farkas is a guitar player who played in Vengeance Rising and Die Happy, and anyhow, they that record kind of stalled on us, but most of the stuff, yeah, I mean, we're doing small runs, so if we end up with 10, 15 copies left, that's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
It's funny, we'll have 10, 15 copies left, and I'll see copies on eBay selling for 50, 60, 100 bucks. Like,
how it
just go to our
works.
website. There's a copy there for 20.
What's up, Corey? You got here just in time. We're about to shut it down.
Oh yeah, Corey's here.
What's up, Corey?
All right. I think, we're 2 hours.
Yeah, man, 2 hours. Went by like nothing, though.
Yeah, this is great. Definitely have you back on and talk more about what you're doing with the label and all that. But
Yeah,
to
for
end up
sure.
here, where can everybody find you and the label and all that? Give some information here, so if anybody's watching wants to check it out.
Yeah, it's No Life Till Metal. Actually, I'm wearing a shirt, which is actually just coincidence, but
So that's where they can go to order stuff. And
No Life Till Metal records.com. Yeah, or they can just go to my old website. There's a link directly on my old website too, nolifetillmetal.com.
okay,
Nice.
and your YouTube, your No Life Till Metal on YouTube.
No, he's just Scott Waters
There
now.
too.
Are you now?
Yeah, I'm just Scott Waters on. I've always just been that on YouTube. Yeah,
I don't know why I was thinking. I'm so used
I've
to
always called it No Life Till Metal channel, but it's just always been my name.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, man. This has been awesome. Definitely
Yeah.
have you on again.
For sure.
And you can find George and I here at the Man Cave of Doom.
The Man Cave of Doom and
That's it.
Doom
So
and
subscribe, share. Scott, definitely mention on your next video or whatever you're on here. Get some people over.
I
to
will.
watch.
I'll put a link to the channel.
Right on. Later, Vance.
Mm.
All right.
all right, guys.
That's it. Hang on, Scott.
Yep.
We'll see y'all. In a couple days, 4 or 5 days. We'll do a new one.
See who we have next.
Yep. So we'll see y'all soon. Click that little bell icon if you want to be informed of our next live event.
That's it.
So we'll talk to y'all soon.
Later.